Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Hopeful Chewbacca, and we're back at the Church of Chewbacca, and today we're going to rank the last 5 headliners that have come out. It was set 31 through set 35. There is an in-depth true review of every single one of these cards on the channel, so go check those out after this video if you're really curious about a more in-depth review of each of the cards. I will also add what they call a card on YouTube to the corner each time I'm going over one of the players to be able to just click on their true review. That way you can either bookmark it and watch it later, or you can just skip to that video, watch it, and come back to this video and figure out who the top dog is of the last 5 headliners. Pretty much the way this is going to work is I'm going to compare them to one another, as well as to some similar cards that are in the game and kind of why they're ranked the way they are. And guys, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, hit that notification bell so you know whenever I'm uploading more videos, as well as comment down below what you guys think about the rankings of these 5 cards. I think there's going to be some debate because the last 5 cards that came out are all pretty good cards. And I think my number 1 is going to surprise a little bit of people. And I'm going to explain why he's sitting at number 1 compared to the other cards. So let's get into it. Number 5. Starting off the list at number 5 is the 2017 Silver Slugger Charlie Blackmon. He's a center fielder on this card. He's 96 overall. He's left-handed batting, left-handed throwing. Has secondaries of left field and right field. He has diamond hitting and bronze defense. So the reason Charlie Blackmon's coming in at number 5 is pretty much he's the worst out of the 5 cards that just came out in the headliners from set 31 to 35. But some of the highlights of this card is he is an amazing hitter. He has a super glitchy swing, but he's a defensive liability, which is one of the biggest reasons he comes in at 5. I mean, with 71 fielding and 65 arm strength, he's pretty much stuck playing in left field. Even with the upgraded 72 speed compared to his live series that's in the 30s or 40s for speed, he just doesn't really cut it defensively to make it in anybody's lineup nowadays in the game. There's just so many other options in the outfield. If he was a first baseman, you might be able to get away with playing him at first base because he is 6'3", but he doesn't have that as one of his secondaries. So just being an outfielder kind of puts a damper on this Charlie Blackmon, aka Chuck Nasty. I mean, he just absolutely mashes, though. I mean, you can look at his hitting attributes, 115 plus contact. He's going to have a pretty big PCI with the 83 vision, and he has very good power against righties. This is a card that I'm going to pick up a little bit later in the game to add to maybe a Silver Slugger Steam team, or to at least have as a pinch hitter, just because I hit really well with Charlie Blackmon. But he's coming in at number 5 on this list because the other 4 cards that have come out are just better than this Charlie Blackmon. Some comparisons to this Charlie Blackmon that I guess people might compare him to is, I guess you could say Reggie Jackson, the 99 overall, but Reggie Jackson's even a better card than this. He doesn't really have a true comparison for how high his overall is and how good his hitting is, at least against righties, for how bad he is in the field as an outfielder. So he's kind of a one-of-a-kind type of card, but I think he has a very glitchy swing. And I advise you, if you're a newer player, you can get him for kind of cheap, and you want to have a guy that can play left field and mash, and you just don't have time to grind out some of the team affinities, Charlie Blackmon might be the answer for you. Coming in at number 4. Taking home the 4 spot is the Signature Series shortstop from the Detroit Tigers, Alan Trammel. It's a 98 overall card. He's right-handed batting, right-handed throwing. He has no secondary positions. He's diamond hitting, diamond defense. Now, this Trammel does have above-average defense with the 91 fielding, 81 arm strength, and the 75 speed with 85 reaction. So he's going to be pretty decent in the field. I would say there are better fielding options than this Alan Trammel that are for free. So it's one of those things where, like, his fielding's good, but I think there's just better cards, in my opinion, for fielding. If you're looking for like a defensive dynamo, you could go get like an Ozzie Smith, or even the free Barry Larkin fields it at least the same as Alan Trammel or better. Now, as for the hitting, Trammel has good hitting. He has pretty decent pop at 74 plus power, and he has a above average swing. I would say a better alternative is Alan Trammel that's for free if you just want to grind some. It's a stage 3 team affinity shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers, Robin Yount. Now, the Yount might even be cheaper than Trammel, or about the same price, and I think the Yount's better because you can prestige him. He can also play in the outfield if you need to play in the outfield. I believe he can play center field and left field as well, not just shortstop. So that's going to put Trammel at 4th on this list. I think he's a very good card. I just think there's other options at shortstop. The fact that he can only play shortstop kind of handcuffs him a little bit. And I just think there's other options. And I think those options might be better than Trammell, especially comparing him to the other three guys that are still left on this list. Coming in at number 3. At the third spot, we have the 2016 MVP third baseman Kris Bryant. It's a 97 overall card. He's right-handed throwing, right-handed batting. He has a plethora of secondary positions to include the entire outfield and first base. He has diamond hitting, diamond defense. Now, where this Kris Bryant really shines is against left-handed pitching. He has great contact at 106 and 120 power versus lefty, which makes him one of the best bats against left-handed pitching. He also has a very glitchy swing. He seems to really drive into the ball. Against righties, when the ball breaks away, he seems to mash it into right center field gap. So I really like this Bryant swing. Defensively, he's another guy that's above average, kind of like the Trammell we just went over, with a lot more secondary positions. I think the biggest downside of this Bryant card is the fact that his vision's only 71, so at higher difficulties, it kind of makes him unusable, in my opinion, compared to some of the other guys you can get at third base. A guy that I would compare this Bryant to is he obviously can't play as many positions, but I think this card is very similar to the Stage 3 team affinity of the Philadelphia Phillies' Mike Schmidt. And I think that the Mike Schmidt is a better card because defensively Mike Schmidt is way better at third base than Kris Bryant is, and he's going to give you the same hitting attributes with better vision. It's another guy that absolutely hits the ball hard against both-handed pitching and excels more against lefties, just like this Bryant. So that's the best comparison if you're looking for a free option. Another thing that puts Bryant third on this list, and I don't know if it should be a factor or not when just comparing the cards, is the fact that Kris Bryant's price is like 100,000 stubs. He's not a 100,000 stub card whatsoever. I don't care if you're a Cubs fanboy or whatever else. Find a different option at third base. Go take your boy Ryan Sandberg and put him at third base over Kris Bryant if you're a Cubs fan. You'll thank me later because the prestige version, when you get to the prestige tiers of Sandberg, is probably a better card than this Kris Bryant anyways at third base, and he's still a Cubby. Kris Bryant's coming in at number 3 on this list. I'm sure I might get some crap for this one, but hey, comment down below if you think I'm wrong here. Kris Bryant, I honestly could have maybe put him in the 4 or 5 spot. Originally, when I first made this list, and I was going over it back and forth in my head, it was between him and the Trammell at the 4 spot, and I ended up putting Bryant over Trammell, mostly because of a little bit more pop, and I think pop right now is more important in the game. Like hitting home runs wins more games than just getting on base, as well as Bryant has all these secondary positions. I mean, that's what really separated Trammell and Bryant in this situation. But I don't think this Bryant card is like over the top better than Trammell is. Coming in at number 2. At the second spot, we have the only guy that's a pitcher, Brendan McKay. He's a starting pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's a Future Stars, 98 overall, left-handed throwing, left-handed batting. He throws 4 pitches. He doesn't have the ever-coveted sinker. He doesn't have like a nut curve or anything super nasty like that. But we went over this card actually yesterday, and he has good attributes, and I think he's a pretty easy motion to throw with, and he's left-handed, so that kind of gives him some pluses. Plus, as we mentioned, and you can see right here as I toggled over the attributes, he can challenge Shohei Ohtani as the best hitting pitcher in the game. He's a lot of pop with his bat as a pitcher, which I think makes a difference. So with the way that he's a two-way player, the fact that he has some good stuff, good pitch speed, differential, and he has good control. I mean, the biggest attribute that's a letdown is home runs per 9, but that doesn't matter in ranked seasons. It doesn't matter in events. It doesn't matter in anything online. Only if you're playing offline, like showdowns against the computer and play versus the computer, or you're grinding moments or whatever, does this home run per 9 attribute even matter. So the fact that that's low, I mean, I mention it sometimes in my videos because I think there's guys that play offline. Not everyone plays ranked seasons. But for this, when you're comparing it and you're looking for a guy to pick up ranked seasons, I think this McKay could answer the bill for a lot of guys, especially if his price gets down to that like 40 to 45,000 stubs that I mentioned. The best comparison I have for McKay would, I guess, be Newhouser. I don't think he throws nowhere near as hard as Newhouser does. I don't think he has as good of a curveball as Newhouser does, although his curveball is pretty similar to Newhouser. I do think that he's probably the best comparison because they have kind of the same pitches. You're going to really rely on a four-seam fastball and a curveball, as well as a changeup to kind of misdirect players when you're pitching to them and make them kind of think that you're throwing a fastball and you're throwing a changeup and then working the curveball some. I think the added value of a cutter compared to Newhouser not having a cutter is a little bit of an upside because you can throw something that has that side movement that's still kind of hard and you can kind of handcuff some people on the cutter. So I do like that for McKay. It's bringing McKay at number 2 on this list, and he's the only pitcher out of the 5 cards. Coming in at number 1. So the man that takes the cake on this list of ranking the headliners is the left fielder, future stars for the St. Louis Cardinals, Dylan Carlson. And he was actually the set 31 card. So he came out first out of this entire list, and I think he's the best out of the last 5. He's a switch hitter. He's left-handed throwing. He has a secondary. He's a center field, right field, and first base. So he's a guy that can play all over the outfield as well as first base. He has diamond hitting and diamond defense. Now, his attributes don't look anything to be like, oh my God, look at his attributes. They're not absolutely filthy, but what separates this Dylan Carlson from the other cards, in my opinion, is he's a switch hitter, and he has the glitchiest out of everybody's swings. Like, Charlie Blackmon has that glitchy swing. We're hitting bombs. We're hitting line drives into the gap. We're hitting it down the line. We're pushing it down the left field line. Just absolutely good swing. Dylan Carlson swings better than that. Hands down. I mean, you can argue with me. You cannot argue with me. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about Carlson's swing compared to Blackmon. But I really, really think that this Dylan Carlson has one of the best swings in the entire game. I actually changed my cap and rank seasons to Dylan Carlson's swing because I think it's so glitchy. On top of that, he has good attributes against righties, against lefties. He's always going to have that good righty-lefty, lefty-righty matchup. 84 vision isn't the best vision, so his PCI might be a bit of an issue on Legend, but I've played with him on Hall of Fame. His PCI is not that big of a deal, and he has good fielding, and he seems to get really good jumps on the ball, even though he only has 83 reaction. And he's a left fielder, so he doesn't need to have a ridiculous arm. He doesn't have the most blazing speed, but 76 is more than sufficient. And he can also play first base. Now, first basemen are not as scarce as they were when this card first came out. But this Dylan Carlson just seems to amaze me. He plays way above his attributes with the bat. And let me know what you guys think about this Dylan Carlson. Do you think he should have been number 1 on the list? Do you guys think he should have been lower and maybe have McKay or Bryant number 1? I really think that there's no question that this Dylan Carlson is the best card of the last 5 headliners. If I'm thinking of a comparison to this Dylan Carlson, it's kind of hard because he is a switch hitter. There's not even too many guys that are like throwback players that are switch hitters when it comes to some Stage 3 team affinities that came out. If I could compare him to anybody, I would say that he's probably like Shane Victorino, but with more power. I mean, Shane Victorino is obviously a better fielder than this Carlson is, but that's probably the best comparison I can give you. If you guys have used the Shane Victorino card, is they're both switch hitters with glitchy swings that hit above their attributes, and they're both good in the field. Obviously, Victorino's better in the field than Carlson is, but that's probably the best comparison I can give for a guy that's also a switch hitter. I can't really think of anybody else. If you guys think of anybody else, let me know in the comments below. Guys, that wraps up the ranking of the last 5 headliners set 31 through 35. At 5, we had Silver Slugger Charlie Blackmon. At 4, we had the Signature Series Alan Trammel. At 3, we had MVP Kris Bryant. At the 2 spot, we had Future Stars Brendan McKay. And then at number 1, to the top of the list, we had the future star from the St. Louis Cardinals, left fielder, 97 overall, Dylan Carlson. Let me know what you guys think about the list in the comments below. How would you have ranked the 5 cards? You think I got the list right? You think I got the list wrong? Let me know. You guys have a great day and be safe.